Yo, this is Big KO, and you're watching The B Shine. Now, I grew up in the MTV generation, and in those early days of MTV, there was no black artists that was played at all, especially not hip hop artists. But as we know, Run DMC changed all that. So, as a kid, as a youth, 82, 83, I would sit in front of the television waiting for Run DMC to come on MTV. Rock Box, which is a monumental record, the first rap record ever played on MTV, and that changed the landscape of what hip hop can do and where hip hop was going, and that was Run DMC kicking the door down for everyone. So as a kid, waiting for that Rock Box video to come on, I was exposed to all the music that they would play around it. Rock Box would get played once a day. In a 24-hour day rotation, it might get played twice, one time that I can catch it. And in between, I was exposed to all kinds of music, or, most of the rock stuff that they were playing at that time. And that later on winded up influencing my production career. And I brought it full circle with being able to, record and produce for DMC. My first hip hop show that I ever went to was in 1989 at the Apollo Theater. It was a benefit concert called Get Busy for the Homeless. And I was there with Professor Griff from Public Enemy, and who at the time was dating my cousin. So I used to, at that time in 88, 89, during the It Takes a Nation of Millions tour, I was always rolling with him and my cousin backstage. And this particular night at the Apollo, the bill was Public Enemy, Dougie Fresh, Biz Markie, MC Lyte, Jungle Brothers, Queen Latifah. This is February 1989. I'm 13 years old. And just being downstairs in the green room before that show was just incredible. It was like the pages of rap pages coming to life. The people that were walking through the door that night. Slick Rick in the prime era. DMC in the prime era. Big Daddy Kane in the prime era when he had the full-length MCM trench. Incredible shit for a 13-year-old kid to see. Like, at that point, music and hip-hop was going to be it. You know what I'm saying? So, that was an incredible first hip-hop moment for me in that show. I was actually able to be stage right during that show, and it was Public Enemy at the peak of It Takes a Nation of Millions, rocking the Apollo Theater with an incredible set. And I never forgot it. I never forgot that night. And crazy shout to my cousin Charlene, who made all that happen, and it was really influential in my early career. I started actually playing guitar. Got a guitar first, and then, because there was no one in my neighborhood that even played an instrument at that time, it was hard for me to concentrate on learning the instrument. So then I started DJing in summer '89, and a couple years later, I was lucky enough to get in a new music seminar, and that kind of set my trajectory as being a battle DJ. So early new music seminars. My first DJ battle ever, was against Mr. Sinister at the New Music Seminar in 1993. Legendary times. Rock Raider, rest in peace. Front row. Rob Swift, front row. Clark Kent, DJ Scratch, Dudges. So in 4 short years, I took it from playing guitar to New Music Seminar, and after that, it was a full steam ahead. I got my first set of turntables the summer of 1989 after begging my pops for like 6 months, and promising him that I wouldn't go to summer school that year. There was a set of ELI belt drive turntables in the window of this store in Jamaica Avenue, and in Queens. And I went up there maybe the whole half of the first half of the summer, drooling at these turntables through the window, these beginner belt drive turntables. And eventually I did my part of the deal, and my pops went and got me those turntables, and they cost $469, which at that time was like a week's pay for my dad. And but he made that sacrifice for me because he knew that would keep me off the street and keep me out of trouble, and eventually led to me having a career. I started producing like the natural progression that DJs do. I was involved with a label called True Criminal Records, who released a lot of really, really good independent 12 inches in the 90s, from Street Smarts to Godsons, and just out of necessity of them needing an in-house producer, and also me being around cats like Buck Wild, Domingo, Lord Finesse, who did those early True Criminal singles that I DJ'd on. In those days, you would go to the studio, and many times you would lay shit when you get to the studio, lay the beats. So they would be putting the tracks in song mode right there in the studio. The MC would spit the lyrics, and Buck and Finesse would program the song and then lay the track. So just being around that and seeing that, it was like going to school, hip hop college. And I'm learning from the professors. My professors were Buck Wild, Domingo, and Lord Finesse, and my man Eddie James, who did a lot of those early True Criminal sessions. So that progression is what led me to producing, and I started really full-fledged producing around 1999, between 98 and 99. I was lucky enough to have a team at True Criminal that I was doing in-house records for them, and that kind of got my name out there, the records that I was doing for FT and stuff like that. And then, after True Criminal ran its course, I was able to use those records as kind of like a resume to get other artists' music. And one of the first artists that I produced for after True Criminal was Proof from D12. So he was the first sale outside of the in-house stuff. And once I sold those tracks to him, I had the confidence to know that I can do it outside of an in-house situation. My family felt good about it, and my parents were really, really supportive. My mother was tremendously supportive. My dad was supportive because, music was going to keep me off the street and keep kids my age off the street. Like, I lost my best friend, Mike, when I was 18. One of the first guys I was in a rap group with in 1993. And after that, music was the only option for me, or one of the main options, because I was also thinking about going to the Air Force or going back to school. But my parents felt good about it because it would keep me off the street, and my family and my parents were really supportive. As a producer, you spend a lot of time chasing checks and waiting for money, and tracks that you do this year, you get paid for next year. You spend a lot of time making the music and looking for vibes and samples, and so time is definitely the major sacrifice, because you blink your eyes and it's 20 years since those classic True Criminal records, 12 inches, and it's 20 years since the ITF, and it's 20 years since the records me and Eclipse put out. We put out a Battle Break compilation called Fractured Breaks. My production is centered around guitar, playing the guitar, and it's no different than producers that sit down and they have a motif or any kind of keyboard, and they do their drum tracks and play keyboards. My melodies and my arrangements and inspirations come from the guitar licks and lines that I play. So it's been really fun, finding ways to incorporate that into hip hop, and also not turning it back on my other influences, because I'm really into soul, I'm really into hard rock, heavy metal, classic rock, also progressive music, and playing the guitar has been able for me to see the full spectrum of music, from the lowest blues to the highest symphony. I was young when I was first exposed to like being around those great hip hop figures, and it's really allowed me to fulfill my dreams in terms of the dreams I had when I was 12, 13 years old. And I was, when I was rolling around with Public Enemy during those shows in the early days, I never would have thought 25 years later that I would do a record with DMC, Chuck D, Terminator X, PMD. It was a tremendous full circle moment for me, and just it's music that had allowed me to do that. It's allowed me to fulfill my dreams. Get Rich or Die Trying soundtrack with 50 Cent was probably definitely the most successful record. Got me the plaque that every producer wants, but just the fact that it was on the soundtrack of the movie, as well as the in the movie, the score, and on the soundtrack. And when that film dropped in 2006, it came in top 5 box office, and the soundtrack was number 2 in the country, and all that happened in the first week. Like literally go to the premiere, the soundtrack drops, SoundScan drops, you see the numbers, and it sold I believe 330,000 copies in 5 days, which is what people sell nowadays for their whole album run. You know, that project did it in 1 week, and it eventually went on to sell 3 million records worldwide. In terms of the Hellraisers record, it was so important and such a great honor to do that record because, you know, years from now when these artists are no longer with us, I mean, many years from now, 20, 30, 50 years from now, people will be discovering music from Run DMC, EPMD, Public Enemy. It's music that's timeless. It's some of the greatest recorded music of all time, music from these guys. And eventually, once they get through their great catalog, they'll stumble across the song that I did for these guys called Hellraisers. And, you know, when I'm long gone, maybe somebody will discover that record down the line and then in turn discover about me and my career and then sample some of my stuff and make it full circle and get my kids paid.